Big friendly hellos, everybody. Welcome to the first call of September 5th. Let's take a look at what we have on the agenda. Coming up for notary issues, we're going to talk about upcoming events that are taking place around the world. We've invited Meredith from the foundation, and she's going to kind of give some summaries of what those issues are, what the main talking points are at those events. And if you have any questions, she leads our event team and can be happy to answer anything, or at least take that down and make sure we get you routed to the right person. RG will be on the call. He'll walk us through updates on the dispute resolution tracker, pretty much how that process is coming, what we've seen new, and what we should expect to see coming forward in the future. There will be no trust and transparency working group updates on this call, but we have a request, and we're going to be joined by Wayne from dataswap, and they'll be walking us through their presentation on trustless notary design and what that looks like. Afterwards, we have two new proposals that have come in since the last call, and Simon and Phil will walk us through what those bots look like and any questions you may have. And as always, at the end of this call, there'll be time for anything else you'd like to discuss. I will say as a flag right off the bat, we had a request from the dataswap team that if there was any Mandarin speakers on the call that would like to help with the translation, it would be greatly appreciated. So we'll get to that right before we launch. But if you are a Mandarin English speaker and you would like to help with the translation, that'd be greatly appreciated when we get to the community portion of the call here. So let's take a look at what we have. Today is the 5th of September. The next call will take place on the 19th of September. If you're joining these calls, they're marked in the shared calendar. You can follow along. And this will be the first call. Second call is taking place at 01 UTC tonight. If there's anything that you ever want to get on these notary governance calls for a topic for discussion or flag, open forum, just go to the issues and say, hey, I'd like to discuss X, Y, and Z. Leave that as a comment and I'll reach out. We'll get slides, whatever time you need, and we'll bake that into the presentation. So if you're looking to add an item to the agenda, that's spelled out right there. We'd love to have it. Friendly check, here's your governance team. If you need support, issues, these are the best people to reach out to. If you're not sure who to reach out to, you can always reach out to me, and I'll be happy to route you to the right person or team that's working on that. So, notary issues. First off, I'm going to post the link to the Airtable signup. Notaries that are on the call, thank you as always. When you fill this out, we track this for the participation, but more importantly, where the tooling resources are going, how your time is being spent. So as always, notaries, thank you for taking the time to fill this out. If you're on the call and you're not a notary, like a member of the community, storage provider, looking to get involved, this is a valuable way to show like your participation in the program. We look at this with the reputation scores quite significantly in future. So if you want to show like, yes, I've been coming to these calls. Yes, I've been active in the community. Signing up on this is a great way to do so. And then we can come back to it in future elections or future tie-ins. So again, this is open to all, not just notaries. So with that, I'm going to mute and turn the floor over to Meredith, who runs the events team on the foundation. And she's going to kind of summarize a little bit of what's going on around the world. Meredith, floor is yours.
Thanks, Kevin. Nice to see everyone. Thanks for your time today. I'll be quick, but really excited to share with you some of our upcoming events from the Filecoin Foundation and the broader community. Actually, just this past weekend, not listed here, was Phil Jakarta, run by our community member MetaPals. It was a very successful event. We had over 500 developers for that, learning about FBM, networking, meeting each other, and hopefully cultivating some business opportunities on the ground in Jakarta. But upcoming, we have later this week, Phil Stoll. This will be an event for storage providers. So really hope any of you in the Asian region who might be going to Korea Blockchain Week could attend. Juan will be giving a keynote in an AMA as well. And there's a storage provider focused day on the first day, which is the 6th. After that is our Phil Dev Summit. This is an event for core devs to really shape the future of the protocol. Galen will be there on site as well. I think Danny as well. So please join if you haven't already. It's going to be in Singapore at the Fairmont there. And it is 4 days of really diving into some key themes. You'll see on that website a lot of the key themes that will be covered. So please check it out. And if you are in the region or can attend, please do. Oh, great. Great to see that. Thank you. Casey will be there as well. And then finally, in October, we'll be hosting Phil Vegas. If you are a Filecoin storage provider or considering becoming one, you should be attending Phil Vegas. It will be alongside ESPA. There'll be a D-Store track. This will be happening at the Park MGM in Vegas. And there'll be so much to learn about storage providers, becoming a storage provider, as well as kind of the ultimate theme of data integrity and AI. So really exciting speakers for this event, and we hope to see a lot of you there. This one is hosted by Filecoin Foundation. And we are really excited about it. And finally, in November, we'll be having a Filecoin network base alongside Lab Week and Dev Connect in Istanbul. So definitely check that out as well. We're going to be excited to be partnering along with the Ethereum community and many of you at Lab Week. So if you have any questions about our events, you can check out phil.org/events. They're all listed there, or reach out to me, Meredith, on Filecoin Slack. Again, it's Meredith Palante. I'm glad to meet you all today, and thanks for considering kind of coming out and being a part of some of our events. If you're interested in hosting an event, also please reach out. We have many ways that we love the community to get involved and host events in their own region, specifically through Orbit. So if you're interested in learning more, reach out to K-Ray, reach out to me, and we can help you out. Thanks all. Have a great evening, day, morning.
Thanks, Meredith. I'll open it up if anybody on the call has questions or anything more about the events. This would be the great place to ask.
A question about a link for Lab Week. Lab Week is run by the Protocol Labs team, but I will look at that and see if I can find one. I know it was just officially announced, and I'm sure they're going to put it in all the channels soon if it's not out there.
Well, Meredith, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to these. Feel free to stay on the call if there's anything. Otherwise, I think that we have your contact information. We'll reach out. Thank you again for joining and updating us. Sweet. RG, can I turn the floor over to you for an update on the dispute tracker?
Yeah, thanks, Kerry. The update is pretty small. All the disputes that have been submitted on the dispute tracker are now either resolved or have been followed up. So if you are involved stakeholder, please take a look. And then just a reminder that our SLA is 14 days. So our hope is that in 14 days we can resolve or respond to all of the disputes. The link is there, so please take a look at the open disputes. You're also welcome to participate in a dispute, even if it doesn't directly address you. We always appreciate support from the community, the due diligence process.
Thanks, RG. Anybody in the call has questions, feel free to stick a hand up or just interrupt me and we'll come back to this. Or if anything comes to mind at the end of the call, we'll be happy to circle back. All right, community presentations. So I'm happy that we have a special guest, Wayne, who's on the call. I wanted to see, earlier we said if there's anybody that might be able to help with Mandarin to English translations. Is there anybody on the call right now that may be able to support that? Wayne, what we could do is I can just do the recording if you want to do it in Mandarin, and then we can get the translation when it goes to YouTube back to English. I'll leave it up to you since you're the speaker on what you would feel most comfortable presenting in, and I'll just work around it later since we don't have a translator for you.
Okay, I can use English.
Okay, I'll try using English. Okay. Can you hear me? Hi, Kevin. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
coming through
Okay.
great. Floor is yours.
Okay. Hello everyone. Today I'll share the Trustless Notary design by dataswap. And we are a developer team focused on blockchain layer 2 development. On the Filecoin mainnet launched in 2020, our team was involved in the operation of large-scale miners and continue into 2021. And now we are preparing to engage in the development work on the Filecoin Layer 2. I think our roles in the network is developers. This is the problem statement. We aim to address the trustless notary issue in File Plus, as mentioned in the following document is about trustless notary discussion. In our solution, we can resolve the following two issues. One is flow of DataCap issue. Two is ensuring the right data is embodied. And now we have completed the design and the basic architecture setup of our project. And our specs met the document. Please help me. Next page, next and next. 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 Yes. Our specs totally met the document. Yes. Let me explain the user view of our design. There are 5 rows in our design. The first one is storage client. The storage client need to quantize file to obtain DataCap, and need to pay some DP fees to the DP for data preparation work. He need to submit dataset info into the chain. And the second row is the data is the DP. DP should submit the dataset proof, and he can get DP fees for her proper work. And the DA and DA, please see the left bottom. The DA will challenge the data, the proof, challenge the proof, and then GT can approve the data set, and then the SP need to submit storage results to the chain, and the result is Filecoin claim ID. And then the SP should pay the DP fees for DP's work. Okay, please, next page. This is the UMM picture. This picture is explain the last picture, the user view. The step one is SC to do some submit and pay some quarterly row. And step two is DP submitted proofs and DA challenge the proof successful, and then the dataset is approved. And step three is SP store the really dataset date. After storage done, and the SC can withdraw the DataCap code row. Okay, please, next page. Yes. this is our contract design. The design is divided into two layers, a support layer and a domain layer. Support layer including governance, access, File Plus, and custody. File Plus contract is including create File Plus rules and update File Plus rules, such as master, car replex, and so on. And custody is very important in our design because it's in charge of managing the life cycle of car and car replicas. Okay, the domain line is our main logic. Dataset contract is for approve dataset, and matching is in charge of actual tender was and we can support one-click transaction, and the storage contract is used for SP to report the result, storage result. This is Filecoin claim ID. Okay, please next page. Okay, this is our proof and challenge design. Okay, you can refer to this link. For the design, detail design. Yes, please next. Next page. Yeah, yes. This is our architecture design. Left one is the contractor design, and the right one is our test architecture. Yes, thank you. Next. Yes. and now we have complete the most work, including design and code. Now we need someone to review the overall design direction, and we need someone to review the algorithm design, and we need someone to review the contract arch. Thank you very much. Thank you much. I try my best.
Wayne, that was fabulous. Maybe I'll kick off the first question and then pass it around. I know people are probably going to have thoughts, input, and questions for you. To get involved, like if this call to arms, where's the best place that someone should go to get started, to read more and then get started with you? Where would you direct them to go?
Okay. 不是，我问。
Well, Wayne, we'll point them to the two links that are in your deck. Galen just put those in chat. If there's anything else, we'll follow up in the translation channel and we'll have more. Thank you. Open it up if anybody else has thoughts.
Okay. We can begin in the customer our contractor we can begin The first one is our proof and the challenge design. This is the second one is our contract design, expressional the custom. Yes.
Open forum. Does anybody have any thoughts, input, or feedback or questions?
I just had a question. So I know you mentioned that the data preparer will have to submit proofs. I think previously there have been concerns regarding relying on data preparer as a source of I guess, trust or proof. So can you share more? Like what is preventing the data preparer to kind of, collude or be abused?
Oh, OK。
给你打开了，你回答。
贿赂不了，就是有没有谁可以帮我翻译一下？就是说这个算法是比较严谨的，基本上是不可能出现这种被贿赂的情况。对，based on algorithm。Yes。Our design can prevent misuse the DataCap. I think. And we do 验证怎么说？and we had verified the algorithm.
Well, Wayne, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Kevin. Sorry. If you have a more question, I think we can write in the discussion link.
Sounds great. Wayne, thank you so much for coming to the call. Thank you so much for the work that you've put in. And we have the two links in chat and the screen. I'm sure you'll be getting a lot more questions as this develops and the progress you make. Well done. Thank you for coming. Your time was greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Sweet. I'm going to kind of flip it back. We're going to move into the issues phase. There was two new proposals that were fired into the governance repo. So I'm going to invite Simon and Phil to kind of kick off. So Simon, if you're on the call, I'll pass it over to you for the removal bot.
Hey everyone. As Carrie mentioned, this is a proposal for the DataCap removal bot. This proposal stemmed off of it's the other, so one slide back, please. Yep. This proposal stemmed off of the discussion we had in the last Notary Governance call and proposal 967 that was made by Hide. So thank you for that and starting the conversation. Overall, this proposal adds a little more detail on the criteria of removing DataCap on LDN applications. The reasonings are applications that have become stale. So stale applications are LDN applications that have had no activity, so no comments after 14 days. And so once the stale application does not get an additional 14 days of activity, the data cap would be removed. So that would be 28 days in total of no activity. The second reason would be clients requesting the removal of DataCap for themselves. And the last one would be applications that stay open due to comments and have not used their DataCap in the meantime. So for another 4 weeks, which is a total of 6 weeks of DataCap not being used for that specific application. Just a reminder that after DataCap has been removed from clients, that clients are always allowed to reapply again. I opened this proposal last week, and so it would be great to get more feedback. I've been seeing some comments already, so I'll definitely respond back to those. But people who started discussion in the last Notary Governance call, it would be great if you can chime in, and all the notaries here as well. This is going to be a pretty big implementation. It'd be really helpful to provide your input on some of the reasonings as to why you might be against or not against this proposal, like Colonel Logic did in proposal 967. He gave some really good reasonings rather than just kind of saying yes or no. I think providing those suggestions and reasoning will actually help us ideate on this proposal and bring up new ideas. So please go into the proposal and provide your input with some reasonings. And thank you.
Thanks, Simon. I appreciate that. I'll open it up. Does anybody have any thoughts, input, or questions?
I think there's a hand. Yeah, Danny.
Hey, so I just wanted to clarify that this is the implementation of Hide's, I think it's 967. Hold on, I'll throw it in. Proposal, yeah?
It's more of like a refined version, I would say. We added more details. He closed his because I think there was a lot more controversy on the timeline. And so we discussed this a little bit on the Trust and Transparency Working Group. I was looking at the comments in the issue itself. So if you see Hide's original proposal that you just posted, 967, he actually closed it. If you see I believe, my comment in that proposal, it links to this new one. And so if you can see, it's pretty much similar except for the timelines. It's a couple more days, and a few more reasonings as to why LDN applications should have their data cap removed.
Great. So do we know why? Did Hide close it because you were starting this, or just he withdrew that proposal?
Is he on this call?
I don't think so.
I think, again, just like my comment before, I think there was a lot of controversy and just people were not in agreement of the 7 days that he was pushing for.
Oh, okay.
And so again, essentially that's why we extended it a week more, 7 extra days to make it 28 days rather than 21. I believe that's what he proposed. So yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I think just a note on the comments on that issue and yours. I mean, there's lots of calls there for a vote and lots of calls for a consensus. But my understanding is we don't need a vote or consensus to do something like this within trust and security, right?
Correct. We don't need a unanimous notary agreement, and we don't need a vote. We use our soft governance process. We want to hear people's opinions as to who supports it and why, and who does not support it and why. And so looking back through 967, I think a lot of the conversation started to get into more higher level, what are all of the other mechanisms of abuse that are happening on LDNs, and what should we be reporting on, and how do we prevent other forms? And so this was a sort of a reduction in scope to say, let's look at one piece of the pie where if it is inactive or closed, let's start there and have a bot to remove it. And so this is 974 is meant to be sort of a tighter focus than 967. And so with that, we're hoping to hear comments. We'll have it open for probably 2 weeks, another governance call cycle, and see if we get a lot of notaries that think maybe the timeline is still too tight or too loose. That could be a reason for us to modify or change it, or if there's a fundamental disagreement as to the decision that if a LDN is closed and inactive, that we should remove the data cap. If that is a stance that a lot of notaries take, we would like to know that. Personally, I think that because data cap can be created and generated, and that it is not punitive to remove it, I think the idea of just decreasing the amount that's kind of floating unallocated in deals seems like a safe enough thing to try. And we could always, if there's a lot of pushback on this from notaries in one direction or another, we could set some additional parameters on it. Like maybe we run it for a certain amount of time or for a certain amount of data cap to be removed, and have some kind of guardrails on it that way if necessary.
So as I understand it, the kind of the trick that this is attempting to close off is that because when people close the issue, it disappears from, and I may be wrong about this, but it disappears from the UI, right? People don't see it out there anymore. Does that mean that if people want to keep the data cap that they currently have, because there's clearly a lot of people worried about that, they can reopen the issue? Or are we going to go after people who have previously closed their issue, but not take into account if they reopen it, or even if it can reopen?
Yeah, an author can close and reopen an issue. My understanding is that if they do that, the reopening posts another comment to say this was reopened at this time, which would trigger as activity. And so the bot would ignore that issue because it's sort of signs of life from the client who requested the data cap. So this is to go after, yes, if the issue gets closed either by the author or automatically because of inactivity, as well as, and I think, actually, Simon, correct me if I'm wrong, if the issue is closed and deleted, does this also track those applications?
In terms of the bot, are you saying that if the application itself gets closed and then deleted, would they be able to track the application that was deleted?
Yeah. Are we proposing, I can't remember if we were proposing that this would also remove data cap in the event that someone closed and deleted their application.
No, that wasn't mentioned.
Okay.
Maybe that's something we could add into it. Again, that's Danny, that was a good point to bring up. So if you would want to provide that comment into the proposal as we continue iterating on this, that would be great. So yeah.
Yeah, we can also look, I think I looked this up last week, the amount of data cap that is allocated to clients but not yet used in deals, proportionally speaking, is pretty low, because of the way we do the scaling tranches and the subsequent allocations. There is not a lot of latent data cap overall, compared to the amount that has been created and the amount that's been used in deals. I think it's less than 15% total. but we could check that too. I'll go pull that number right now from our DataCap stats dashboard.
Thanks, Galen. Any last questions?
Wonderful.
Okay. If not, please provide your comments in the proposal, and I'll hand it off back to you, K-Ray.
Hey, thank you so much, Simon. Phil, you're on the line. I'll pass it over to you for the AC bot.
Hey guys, following on from Simon's big proposal, I have here another big proposal. We proposed today the AC bot, which stands for the aggregation and compliance bot. This bot is meant to aggregate the different data sources we have. So retrievability bot, CID checker, and many other statistics we have been tracking, and use that data to actually enforce compliance on clients. So at first, in the first phase, we will be using this data to figure out whether to remove DataCap from clients or not that fail basic requirements. We'll also be giving recommendations on whether to give DataCap to someone or not if they pass a lot of, if they manage to pass a lot of these higher and they score high on these scoring functions. In the future, we will actually be, we may be issuing DataCap based on these statistics too, but for now, we'll just be removing DataCap. We want to do this because I think this is the most actionable plan right now. It would, over the current system of notaries, it just decreases bureaucracy, less for notaries to do. It recommends due diligence, so notaries needs to do less. It's more neutrality. There's a set of rules such that everyone has to comply to. So there's less subjectivity here. And then of course, it's also more permissionless. The bot is online 24/7. So if anyone comes to it, it will reply. And so like, we don't need to wait for notaries to do anything. So at least the clients will get at least a recommendation, or we'll say like, hey, you're missing something in your application, or you're failing some requirements. Can you please fix this? Those requirements and thresholds are stated, or at least the initial proposed ones are stated within this application. I think it's a pretty important application for everyone in the program because it does involve removing DataCap from clients. So if you want to know what rules you will need to comply to, you can check this this application. Of course, this is, even though we're in development of this, we're not final with many of the parameters and thresholds. If you have any suggestions, we are completely open to it. Please let us know. Let me know through Slack, or just comment in this applications if you have any thoughts or comments. Yeah, with that, let me know if you guys have any thoughts.
Well, thanks, Phil. Pretty straightforward. If anybody does have any comments, thoughts, feedback, we'll have plenty of time at the end and discussions to circle back to this. That kind of opens it up with any time that we have left on the call. This is your forum. Anything that you want to flag, raise, or discuss, raise a hand, unmute. The floor is yours.
Danny, a quick check of the math here. 1.78 exabytes have been created total to give to notaries, but 1.57 of that has been given to clients from the notaries. That's because of how much the different, like the large data set notary or the eFil notary has. So from 1.57 that has been given to clients, 1.5 has been published. So it's 0.07 exabytes that are currently latent within clients that are not, excuse me, that clients hold that are not in deals.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. And yes, the AC bot was just posted. So very much looking forward to seeing the feedback from people there. Fundamentally, the idea behind this is sort of a continuation. If you remember way back, we had sort of a stats bot for LDNs that would post a comment when it was time for the next allocation that would say, you know, here's the highest percentage of deal making with one minor ID. The goal here is to like help streamline this process for notaries. We've heard from a lot of notaries that it can be unclear and a lot of different places to go before making a decision about whether or not to sign at the next allocation. And our goal is to try and take the rules that we have all agreed upon through various proposals and LDN processes and help make tools that paint a clear picture of what those rules are, and just help make it easier for a notary to determine if there is compliance by aggregating a lot of different information. And then from there, can we start to make some automated decisions about removing DataCap when somebody is out of compliance based on like a really tight set of rules. And these wouldn't be all of the use cases, similar to the stale DataCap removal from Simon. There can be lots of reasons that we may want to remove DataCap from a client. We do not need to get all of them automated all at once. There is a very good case to be made for saying, let's take, if we know that a client is no longer using DataCap or they have requested the removal themselves, can we automate that, right? Can we take things that are easy wins, that are clear, you know, clear cases and automate the removal of DataCap in those situations? And so that's kind of some of the direction that we're trying to go. So as you read through these bots, I just want to make it clear the things that are being proposed here are not meant to be, okay, we have now covered every possible scenario and this is it. Or it is also not meant to say, if it doesn't fit into this bot, then it isn't eligible for a dispute or a removal, or it isn't eligible for more DataCap. There will always be exceptions, both in granting DataCap and in removing DataCap. That's part of having, you know, a scaling trust system, is that we have to make exceptions, learn from whether or not they work, and then iterate on the bots themselves. So look forward to seeing people's comments on those. 12 minutes. Were there other questions from the community?
Well, hello, friendly eyes. Welcome to the second call of September 5th. Let's take a look at what we have if this is your first time dialing in. Call is broken into 4 parts. Part 1 focuses on notary issues. Tonight, we're going to be talking about events that are upcoming in the next quarter. Then we're going to be updating the status of the dispute resolution tracker. RG updated this in the morning. Since he's not on this call, I'll do my best to fill in on his behalf. After that, we have the community issues. Typically, these are like the working groups, Enterprise Fill Plus, Trust and Transparency. Tonight, we have a presentation from a group that's working on Trustless Notary Design from dataswap. They gave us a presentation in the morning. I think they're coming back. If not, we can kind of paraphrase and make sure that we're covering it. And Carol's joined on the call to help with any translation back and forth between Mandarin and English. So if you have questions and you'd like to discuss something in Mandarin, we do have Carol tonight, so please take advantage of it. Happy for your time. Thanks for coming, Carol. For the proposals, there's 2 new open ones. Simon and Phil spoke to them this morning. I'll speak to them tonight. They are two bots that focus on retrieval of DataCap and how the ANC process works. And we'll have plenty of time for open issues. So if there's anything that you want to see added to this call, you'll have plenty of time to bring that up at the end. Or as always, stick a hand up and we'll stop and make sure that we're listening. This is the call, September 5th, second call. If you've ever not come to one of these sessions, this is your first time, you can check out this calendar link. This will add it and you can track all the next calls. The next call will be taking place at 0800 1500 UTC on the 19th of September. If there's any topic you want discussed on this call, open forum. We post in GitHub every 2 weeks. Just feel free to leave a comment. Hey, Kev, I'd love to discuss XYZ issue. I'll reach out. If you have slides, we'll build them in, and we'll make sure that that's added to the agenda as well. If you need help, any issues that go down, this is your friendly governance team. If you're not sure who to reach out to, as always, you could route through me and I'll direct you to the POC that could help you with that question. So let's jump right in. Notaries that are on the call, thanks for being here. I'm going to post in chat right now 2 links. The first is the link to the slide deck. In case you don't have that, it's posted in Slack. The second is the link to this Airtable form. If you fill this out, it's a great way to kind of mark your attendance and participation and build your reputation score of participation. And if you are new, or if you're a storage provider, or you might want to become a notary soon, this is a great way to kind of mark like, hey, I've been coming to sessions for 6 months. I've been involved. This is a great way to mark it. So open if you're a notary, also open if you're just on the call to listen. All right, Meredith, did you happen to join the line? Long shot. Oh, I'm asking that because she joined on the morning. I'm going to paraphrase some of the things that are coming up and just kind of give you an overview of what's on the horizon if you want to go to anything in person. First coming up is September 6th to September 7th, taking place in Seoul. It's the Secured Finance supported by Filecoin Foundation. Some of the draws to this is it's a developer-focused conference. And the second draw is that Juan is going to be giving a keynote at the talk. So this is coming up, gosh, 2 days. If you haven't bought your ticket, I think it might be a little bit too late, or you can just rush over there. The second, with a little bit of notice, is the Dev Summit. This is strictly by developers working on it. I think Galen will be in attendance on this one. And this is like, what are the development tools that are going to shape the protocol? You'll see the link right there at phildev.io if you want to sign up or get more information as that comes. Early October is Phil Vegas, taking place in the States in Las Vegas, of course. And if you're keen to become a storage provider, or you want to kind of build a network of other storage providers, this might be a really high value event for you to attend. You go through like best practices, a lot of like the tooling, and it kind of mirrors that ESPA journey as you go forward. And lastly, with a lot of notice coming up, in the middle of November is going to be the Phil Day, the Phil Network Base, taking place in Lisbon. If you're able to make it out, last year it took place, I misspoke. Last year took place in Lisbon. This year coming up is going to take place in Istanbul. So this is open to all Web3 developers, storage providers, like a lot of the development community around Ethereum. So again, if you were looking for in-person connections with everything Filecoin, that Istanbul might be your biggest bang for buck. So if you're curious to see any of these links that are in the slide deck, feel free to reach out to me and I could route you through the event team if you have any other questions. That should kind of walk through if you need anything. And next, speaking on behalf of RG, doing my best. So they stood up this trust and transparency tracker maybe about a month or two ago in Notion. And this was designed that if there was a flag in Slack or in GitHub, or it was made of where, they could be added to this tracker in Notion and then list out what's the status, what's in progress. The goal was to have more transparency around like that non-compliant deal making and what the trust and transparency team was doing to work towards it. So I think the big talking points to this slide that RG addressed in the morning is that it's completely been resolved. There's no new issues. Great news. And so if you have any questions or you want to take a look, feel free to look at the tracker for any kind of historics. But I think the big call out right now is that there's no new open issues right now. If you have any questions on this, want to discuss in more detail, RG is the best point of contact to the Trust and Transparency Working Group, or shoot a hand and I'll be happy to route you to the best place. All right. Way New, are you on the line by chance? I'm going to take a look over at the guest list because I didn't see your name. So we might have a little bit of fill in the blanks for it. He is not here, which happens. Carol, have you taken a look at this deck? Have you been working on this project, or would you be better just to speak to it from a translation standpoint?
Unfortunately, I have not been working on this. I think Phil from our team is the point of contact on the Trustless Notary work streams. I was here to translate, but I did take a look at the slides. I'm not sure if I will do a great job explaining it. So I might pass on this job. If anyone else can take over, or maybe we should postpone to the next meeting.
I tell you what, we could do both if it's okay with you. Maybe what I do is I'd hate to put words in their mouth because they came to the call and they did this. I think what they were looking for is, just having the ability to present this in Chinese and Mandarin. I'm going to follow up with them after this call and see if they'd like to have any additional. That way they kind of cover both bases. So, Kara, I'm so sorry to invite you for the translation and then just enjoy your company with a friendly hello. So I think I'm going to direct everybody who's on the call right now to take a look at the doc if you're curious about the architecture. And then I'll invite the speakers and I'll link it so you can watch their presentations at your leisure and walk through it. I'll pause and see if anybody has any questions on that.
Yeah. It's a very interesting problem that they're trying to solve. And there's a lot of, like, this slide in particular goes into a lot of like what they're hoping to do around getting storage clients and data preparers working together through this like trustless notary platform. As K-Ray said, they presented some in the morning call. We'll have that recording, which we'll link to, and we have their slides here. And there's a couple different discussion posts and also their GitHub spaces. So we'll just take a second and we'll get all those links in the chat here. And then they're also in some of our public Slack channels. But if this type of project or architecture is interesting to you or in your wheelhouse, or you have feedback on it, we would love to hear it. We want to see more and more of these different pathways where notaries are working at a programmatic level. We have, for example, we have the Glyph auto verifier, which is a programmatic notary. So we're really stoked to see these. I think a big thing to keep in mind here is that these kinds of proposals are for options. This is not necessarily the governance team trying to say, okay, we're switching everything over to one new mechanism that this team is proposing. So check these out and watch the different recordings and look at some of the different links that we'll drop in the chat.
I'm going to say we just saw a name join the line. Let me just check. I think they might be having some connection issues. Way I saw you, then I just lost you again. Oh, man. Okay, well, that happens. I'm going to curb my enthusiasm, and we'll come back. I'm looking at the guest list there. They joined and then just dropped. All right, well, if that couldn't be awkward enough, let's go right into 974. So essentially what this issue is it's talking about the DataCap removal process. And so this was started a few months ago from a community member, and a lot of the discussion ticked off in that issue. Then it's kind of moved into this one, 974. And 974 is a lot more of what are the specifics for the data removal bot? So if you haven't read this, I think the main call is please take a look at this and give feedback on the timelines. Is it too conservative or is it too generous? And to kind of refresh you, if you haven't taken a look, right now, if an LDN application has not had a comment for 14 days, this bot is going to trigger. And after the end of 14 days, if there's been no development, then what that stale application is going to do is it's going to be removed. And the data cap that might be allocated will be taken off. So this issue has been open. What this is confirming is 28 days of inactivity. If you're looking to give feedback, either pro or con, that's a great place to get started. Another way that this data cap could be removal, if there was the option, hey, I signed this in error, which has happened from time to time, or the comment has not been used, another way that this bot could be triggered. So this is open, and this would be a lot of feedback on, is this the right way to approach this? Does this bot meet the expectations as far as timeline? So if you have any thoughts, please leave them in the comments on this issue. Or if you'd like to discuss, this is a great forum for it. So I'll stop, pause, and open it up.
Danny, I know we talked about this briefly this morning. I was curious if you had a chance to look at it or think about it more. I know it's probably been a busy day.
it's been I'm not sure, like, as K-Ray will vouch, like if you have a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning and 6 in the evening, like there's a lot that you can forget between those two things. I thought it was interesting what you said, that this is actually not a huge amount of data relative to the whole amount, but it's still some amount, right? It's still, like, I think in whittling down like misuse of DataCap, I think it is good to try. You do it all by optimizing in little bits. So I am still very much in support of this, if only also because I have a side bet with David Kasem that would do this.
Great. Inside
And
info.
so I must win at all costs. I must win.
Yeah. What Danny is referring to, and I would have to go pull the numbers, but basically we have, from root key holders to notaries, there has been like 1.7 exabytes of data cap. And then from notaries to clients, I think it's 1.57. And then from clients to published storage deals, I think it's 1.5. So I think it's something like 0.07 exabytes that's currently available to clients, held at client addresses. And so in comparison, so like the total amount that has either been created and given to notaries or used in deals, that middle part of the funnel is relatively low. And part of that is because of how we do the scaling allocation tranches. This is also only saying of that amount of data cap held at client addresses, functionally, let's look at the stale data cap where the application has not had any activity for, weeks and weeks. And it's as simple as, clients saying, oh, we're still, getting deals with our storage providers. We're still working on transferring the data. We are making progress. And that kind of activity is just showing engagement and signs of life. So really, this is just a mechanism for us to, remove stale latent data cap in a more automated way. That could be good tooling to have in the future. There's a question here about Danny's role in Phil Plus governance. Danny O'Brien functions as the notary for the foundation. So he is not on the governance team. He is a notary, the same as other community notaries. There's a kind of a distinction between like the role that he plays in performing diligence, and then the role that, for example, I play at the foundation on like the governance side. So I do not sign allocations as a notary. Danny functions in that capacity. And so as far as like, he has something to add to that, I think.
I do. So I wear a lot of hats, Fatman, and I'm increasingly having to wear a bunch of hats in this context. But I'm also a senior fellow. So I come in and try and help, often facilitating between people who have disputes. So they thought it would be a good idea to make me a notary when I first came here, and I am not the world's best notary, but I try.
Well, it's we set a high bar.
You do.
We're demanding. But I don't see other hands or questions about this one. So really, in the issue, what we would like to get most from people is kind of feedback around sort of two main directions. One, do we feel that it is reasonable to remove data cap from a client when the client has gone completely dark and is not responding to any communication outreach? That's sort of like a philosophical question. And then two is the question of how long should we say that someone needs to be, as I said, dark, like without any communication, before we remove DataCap. And again, knowing that this is not necessarily a blacklist that would say, okay, this client address can now no longer ever receive DataCap in the future. This is just saying, let's take stale DataCap and remove that from the funnel. So looking for comments on those. If there are no other ones on this call, Kayra, I think we're good to move on.
Yeah. Thanks, Galen. Thanks, Danny. Very similar to that is this was kicked off by Phil really recently, I think today. And what this is talking about is the A and C bot, which is the aggregation and compliance. And essentially what this bot is trying to do is look at the mechanisms that first bot should run. So as it gets triggered, what triggers it specifically? And what are those thresholds that go through there? And when you can look at this screenshot here, you'll see a lot of like the reasoning behind that, like reducing humans, reducing bureaucracy, making it more like automated as this program runs. So this one will be more tactical as far as like, how does that bot set up? So if you have feedback, if you have thoughts, if you have input, this would be a great place to leave that as far as like, what should this bot be running in the last one? And then how is that bot triggering this one getting set up? So very similar. This one's got a lot of engineering work that goes into it. So again, if you haven't checked out 976, this was just filed in the last day or two. This is a high recommendation that this is on your radar to go look at. So with that, I'll pause and see if anybody has any thoughts or any questions.
Hi, Kevin. So I would it would be good to be able to see the confusion matrix of this board and really determine have numbers to actually measure the accuracy of the spots. Yeah.
Really appreciate you bringing that up. What I will do is after this call, I'll send a DM to Phil and I'll make sure that he gets that and that can be baked in for you. I appreciate you flagging that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do go into some of the conditional functions. If you go into the issue, you'll see some of what we're looking at is aggregating multiple different data sources. For example, we have a CID checker bot. We have a retrieval bot. And in the future, more teams could be adding more bots and APIs. One of the future potential examples is like Phil Green, and we could be getting information from the Phil Green team about different SPs that are working in Filecoin Plus. And so can we take information from multiple sources and start to pull that into one bot to make sort of streamline the process of diligence, so that when a notary comes to look at an issue, they could see, is the client working with storage providers that are also working with Phil Green? That adds to some of the reputation in the system. That adds some amount of accountability, because the Phil Green team is doing their own sets of checks. So that's where we're trying to take existing other data sources and pull them together. And then on the compliance side, if a client applies saying this data is going to be open and retrievable and stored in this way, and that is what the client claims at the beginning, and then they go and perform deal making and their deal making does not match their claims, they are out of compliance with their application. And so that's where we're trying to get into the more neutrality. They told us they were going to behave in a certain way, the notaries approved it, their deal making does not match. If that is the case, why should we continue giving them DataCap? And so that's where baking in some more of these checks. But you can go into the actual issue and see what the thresholds are that we talk about there, and when these calculations would happen. And so again, similar to the previous one, we would like to hear feedback from notaries about sort of philosophically, are we aligned in saying, let's have bots that pull data from multiple sources to make this process easier and more transparent and more consistent? And then how do we say, let's try it with this amount of forced compliance, if they claim they are going to behave in one way and they don't, what is the amount of leeway that we have for these different thresholds? And then from there, we could start making automated requests to remove DataCap. Those requests would still need to go through. There's a couple ways on chain that we would like to do it. Ideally, in a perfect world, we would have it set up a set amount of rules. If a group of notaries agree to those thresholds, which would be open sourced and transparent, then those notaries would say, like, yes, I approve of this bot making these decisions. And if we have a quorum of notaries, we don't have to have all current notaries have unanimous consent. But if we have a quorum of notaries and it feels like it is safe enough to try, then we could implement this and it would kick off messages to the root key holders. And there would still be a delay where it would kick off a removal request and clients or notaries could still jump in and say, actually, the bot triggered, and it shouldn't have, and this is why we're testing and the bot needs to be tweaked, or actually the bot triggered and it is within the thresholds that we set, but we need to make an exception for these reasons. And, so there's always room for us to intervene. But the goal here is, can we start making faster, more deterministic decisions on kind of rules as written that are already implemented in the program, and start to make those more automatically enforced.
Sweet. Thank you for that, Galen. I appreciate that. We had Weinu Yang just joined the line. So good news, Carol, it looks like you're still here. Weinu Yang, thank you for coming back for the second call. I think what might make a lot of sense is that I'll back up and just let you kind of do it. You are free to go in Mandarin, and Carol will just do a translation in English afterwards for the recording. The floor is yours. Thanks.
好的，谢谢。现在我们分享的呢，就是我们做的一个关于无需认证公证人的一个设计。这个设计呢，然后我们现在基本上已经完成了一个算法上面的验证和主体框架的搭建。
谢谢，我现在做一下翻译。另外就是我也不是专业的翻译，所以谢谢你，就是句子说的短一点，然后随时停下让我翻译，谢谢。
OK， 好，谢谢。好。
So this is the presentation is about Trustless Notary, and we have currently just finished our algorithm building and verification, and the building of the theory of the framework.
OK，我们现在呢，就主要是聚焦在一个区块链的二层开发。下面呢我就不讲了，我就主要介绍我们的角色就是一个开发者，然后主要是在区块链二层的开发聚焦上面。好，谢谢。
We are focused on layer 2 development. I won't go into too much details, but we are going to mainly focus on being a developer or serving the role of developers in the layer 2 of the Trustless Notary.
OK， 那我们这个就是我们要解决的主要的问题。第一点呢，就是写的就是说，现在就是社区里面呢，已经就是针对无需认证的公证人已经进行了大量的讨论。然后我们在这个我们也完整的看了这个稿子。然后我认为呢，我们的方案可以去完全的解决掉这个问题。当然，我们做的事情不仅仅是这些，但是我今天聚焦呢，只讲这个事情，我们可以比较好的解决这里面的问题。
We have delved into the Trustless Notary document that's proposed by the community, and we feel that what we're proposing will solve all of the problems proposed or all the problems pointed out by the community.
OK，就是最重要的上一还没有说完，我这里补充一下，最重要是两个问题。第一个问题就是 DataCap 的那个发行流程，第二个就是我们用算法确定我们存入的数据一定是有效的。就这两点，就主要是可以解决那个文档中没有解决的这两个，就是认为比较难的这两个问题。
In the document, there were two outstanding problems. One was around data cap allocation, how to allocate data cap fairly. And the other problem was algorithmically verifying the data set content. We believe that our solution would address both of these outstanding problems.
OK，好，谢谢。我们可以下一页，Next。对，这是我们一个主要的一个用户视图，就是中间就是我们的系统，然后周围有5个角色呢，就是我想表述的一个用户级别的视图。
So in the middle, here is the trustless notary, and around it, there are 5 different roles that I want to describe using this diagram.
然后最左边的一个就是存储客户，呢，他需要做这么3件事情。第一件事情就是说，他需要我们为了保证那个数据的有效性，这里需要做一个 DataCap 的抵押，当然还有第2种方案，但是我现在只说这一种，就 DataCap 的抵押。它这是第一件事情。第2件事情呢，它需要很重要的一点，它需要将那个数据的原数据信息，就像把数据集的一些信息需要去发送到提交到链上去，然后呢，因为这个原始数据呢，它需要去经过一些转换才能存到 Filecoin 网络，所以呢，这里需要一些数据准备的工作。那么可能这里的设计呢，我们会涉及到由 SC 或者是 SP 共同承担一些 DP 的费用。
On the left, there is storage client. The first point is data cap collateral. This I will not dive too deep into because it is transparent. And the second one is a data preparation fee. This is because the data that is stored that the data needs to be transformed into on-chain, so that the data and this fee needs to be shared by both the data preparer and the storage client. Sorry, I didn't do a good job with this one. Maybe we can dive into it a little bit more. 不好意思，这边我有一点长，我中间有一些可能没有翻译到，可以再讲一下吗？如果有
没关系，你
翻译到的地方，
那我一点点讲吧。第一点就是说，那我就一点点讲。我们就简短一点点。第一点就是说，那个 DataCap 我们要获取 DataCap 的资格呢，那其实我们有2种方式。其实第一种呢，就是我们完全用抵押的方式；第2种呢，就是我们一定确保这个原数据就是这个数据就是对了。但是呢，就是我们现在仅仅讨论第一种方式，就是抵押的方式。
那你这边抵押的方式，这边是有一个是 DataCap collateral 是蓝的，然后第2个是绿的，所以我们只是讲蓝的这个吗？
对，我们先讲蓝的这个，就是最左边这个图的最上面一个箭头，就 DataCap 抵押那两个字。
So we are going to focus on DataCap collateral for the time being, because there are 2 ways to get DataCap. You can directly get the collateral, or you would need to 那第2个是什么来着？
第二个是另外一种方式，我们可以在这里可以不讲，就是说，觉得就先理解第一种方式吧，就是第2种方式就是可能就太严格，
Okay, so yeah, sorry for the hiccup. We are going to focus on the first method, which is to use DataCap collateral to get DataCap.
然后第二条就是说，因为 DP 会做那个数据准备，那么那么他做数据准备了，他需要收取一定费用。那这个费用呢，就是我们觉得根据网络的发展，有可能是 SC 支付，也有可能是 SP 来支付。所以我们现在的设计呢，就是可能两者来共享这一个，就是共同来支付这个费用，但是可能具体是谁支付，可能需要根据网络的发展会动态的调整。就是第二个 DP 费这个解释。
So for the DP fee, the second arrow here, we are thinking as the network grows, there is a possibility for the storage client to pay for this fee to prepare data, or the storage provider to pay for the fee, or they've shared the fee.
对，然后所以说，除了这些之外呢，就是存储客户呢，他最主要的工作就是就是我是需求方，就是说我要存储，那我把我需要存储的信息，比如说某一个链接，比如说我的一个私有链接也好，反正这一个私有链接也好，或者说是亚马逊的某个链接也好，就是我需要把我的链接啊，或者说这个数据集的一些元数据的信息，相当于一个摘要。这里的设计呢，主要就是便于之后的检索。它可能是需要是一个比较好的一个，就是一个比较稍微完善一点的那个一个就是数据的一个摘要信息，需要提交链上去，就是相当于发布这个需求。
The third point here is to record the necessary metadata for future retrievals and for the completeness of data preparation to be sent to the chain.
然后第二个角色就是那个 DP，那 DP 呢，就最主要的工作，这里与我们原来流程不一样的地方，就是它需要去提交数据集的证明，而不是说用原来的方式，用人工审查的方式，我们需要用算法的方式去让它就是类似于我们的复制证明或者是 POST 类似的方式，就主要是复制证明那种方式，我们提交证明的方式去佐证我们这数据集，就是我 DP 准备的数据集一定是 SC 指定的那个数据，对，而不会
So
发
the
生
sec
两个数据不一样的情况。对，好。
The second role here is data preparer. The main difference here from the current flow and the proposed flow is that the data preparer now needs to present a verifiable proof that the data that they prepared is the data that's asked. And this proof needs to be algorithmically verifiable.
OK，谢谢。然后呢，就是它会正常的去跟现在的逻辑类似，它会正常的收到它正常的费用，所以这里写的叫 DP 费。
So like the current flow, the data preparer will be able to get the DP or data preparer fee.
对，然后中间我有一个箭头，这里可能描述的没有那么细致，就是说它会去发布一个撮合的交易，它有可能包含了竞拍呀、或者是招标啊，或者是说是或一键成交这种方式，我们现在的合约都基本上已经实现了，但是我只画了这一个箭头，但这个箭头呢就代表的是几个维度，就是客户端。或者SC、SP、DP 三者之间都有可能参与这种撮合，他们之间有需求就应该有一个撮合的系统。但是我这里只用这个箭头去示意表示了一下。
There is also a matchmaking mechanism in the middle, but I just abbreviate here with only one arrow, publishing matching. But in reality, there's going to be the storage client, storage provider, and data preparer. That there needs to be some mechanism that find the matching among all of them.
谢谢。然后就是 我们先讲那个数据集审核的这一边的最后一个角色就是 DA，DA 就是做那个挑战，DP 做完提交完证明之后，任何人或者是甚至比如说周期性的提交都可以去，就是这个取决于算法，就是可以随意的去挑战那个 DP 提交的证明，这样子可以确保 DP 跟 SC 之间的没有作恶的行为
是谁来去挑战？
，DA 来挑战。这种方式其实有两种。第一种方式呢，就是 DA 的挑战的成本，我觉得可能会低一点点。为什么？因为如果是持续性的挑战也是可以的，类似 POST。但是我觉得一个这样的系统用类似 POST 的持续性的挑战，可能不是太合适。所以我们这里考虑的更多是 DP，就是说，比如说我3个人来挑战，可以随机的就是根据链上的一个随机数，可以随机的挑战 DP 提交的证明，这样可以比较好的确认你提交的东西一定是SC 指定的原地址的内容。
So we're going to use a network of data auditors to challenge the veracity of the data stored or the consistency of the data stored. We have also thought about just using continuous checks, but to lower the cost, we thought that data auditor or DAs are probably the better choice here. For example, if you have the data auditors randomly audit 3 people, this is a better way to enforce consistency of data stored and lower the cost.
OK， 谢
I
谢。
think Kenneth has a hand here. 好像有人举手啊。
对。
嗨，我只是想问一下，那个 DP 上面，收的费用是一定要 SC 加 SP 吗？还是可以某一单方面的一个费用？
我好，我明好，我明白这个意思。我看到上面有2个问题，第一个问题就是说他们是否是共享还是单方面的？我觉得这个可能是跟网络的需求而变的。而现在按照现在的实际情况，肯定是甚至可能是 SP 可能更加合适一点点都有可能。我觉得就是我们只是把这个机制给设计进去啊，但是呢，正常一个交易逻辑呢，可能就是 SC，但是现在的逻辑呢，可能偏 SP。那这种方式呢，我们都会设计进去，但可能是一个动态的调整。就是可以去，大家就是相当于是，这3者之间互相之间在沟通这个需求，这个需求，这个参数呢，可能不是我们来定的，是根据这整个市场或者说是整个网络的推进来去演变的。我们会设计成这2者可能有支付的这种行为，但具体的比例呢，或者说是一方承担呢，还是共同承担呢？这个东西我觉得是根据网络的推动来去决定它了。谢谢。
好，谢谢，明白了。Thank you。
行，谢谢。还有一个问题就是说，是所有人可以做 DA 吗？其实 DA，其实我们再往深考虑，它其实可以去做到非常一个自动化的一种做法。所以说，这里任何人做 DA 是没有区别的。好，谢谢。
For the question that anyone in the community can be data auditor, I think that we can automate the process in the future. So it doesn't matter who becomes DA.
OK，然后最后一个比较重要的角色就是 SP 这里呢就是右边这个角色 SP 呢，第一个就是他参与撮合交易，最重要是他需要去提交一个存储的结果，就是说我这个数据集我提交上去之后，跟现在的那个 file 加体系不一样的是，我需要去提交我的结果，比如说我这个数据集有100题，那么我这100题分为多少个上区，我这个上区的 ID， 比如说声明 ID、claim ID， 我一定要提交那样去确认我这个工作已经完成了，我后面会解释这个的原因。好，谢谢。
So on the right here, we have the storage providers. This is a very important role that communicates with the rest. The storage providers on differently from current situation is that the storage provider provides a storing result at the end. And this result talks about the number of sectors, for example, and the size of the data set. For example, if there's 100 terabytes of data set, and how many sectors did I use, and what are those sectors? Those information should all be communicated and provided.
OK，提交这个结果的最重要的原因是控制我们 DataCap 发行的流程，就是我分配的流程。就是说，我们现在的 DataCap 分配呢，其实我们只要看它算力涨到多少了，我们就给它分配。但是呢，在我们的设计中呢，就是你如果确实完成了我们指定的存储，因为我们的 DP 或者我们的 DPDA 一旦完成证明之后，我们要存哪些 CID 其实已经是确定的了。我们先翻译这一部分，就是我们要存的 CID 是确定的。
So the current DataCap allocation process, the DataCap allocation process involves the data preparer and the data auditor. They already know what CID needs to be stored. This part is already known and verified.
对，然后呢，这里呢就是只有当我们完成之后，我们提交完结果之后，那我们的 DataCap 这里的分配也并不是说我有一个 PB， 那我就立马分配一个 PB 给你，不是这样的，这样不安全。那我们可能就是说切分为，比如说每一次，我举个例子，比如说每一次50T 或者10T，就是这样的方式去分配，就保证作恶的机会就是永远在一个可控的小范围之内。所以这里就会给 SP 设置了一个非常小的抵押，就是说我们一定要保证我每次存的确实是客户需要存的那么多 CID。
So here we have a small amount of collateral that storage providers need to provide in tranches. For example, a 50T TIB data set, maybe the DataCap allocation will be 10 TIB and 10 TIB and 10 TIB. For each of these small tranches, the storage provider needs to provide collateral to guarantee that the previous tranche has been stored. This is at the time of providing the result proof.
OK， 可以，next page。OK，这个我们就可以简单过一下，因为这个 UML 图呢，就主要是解释上一张用户视图的一个流程，就是说从 SC 开始抵押开始，我还是简单说一下吧，就是总共基本上我介绍四个部分，第一个部分就是 SC 先抵押DataCap， 然后发布它的数据到链上去。
The first part is the storage client submit the proof to the chain.
可能不是 proof， 就是那个 dataset 的 info， 就是把它提交上去，然后第二步才是 DP。对。
The first part is the storage client submit the dataset info to the chain. And metadata to the chain.
对，第二步才是那个 DP 会提交证明和那个 DA 去审核它，就最终第二步就会达成数据集被批准，就类似于现在File Plus 的流程，比如说我们用人工审核会批准一个道理。
The second step is for data preparer to and the data auditor to verify the data set.
对，然后第三步就是当然我省略掉了，帮我去解释一下，就是我省略掉了那个撮合交易的环节，就是双方之间，我先只说这个流程。那么第三步就是 SP 会去做实际的存储，当然会 EPP 的存储或者 EPP 的证明 ，EPP 的存储 ，EPP 的声明 ，EPP 的获取DataCap。
On the next step, but I did omit one step in the middle, which is the matchmaking. So then the next step is for the storage provider to batch by batch store the data. 是存储对吧？EPP 的
对，存储就是最后 SP 就要做最终实际的存储了。对，然后最后就是一个关于抵押的说明，就是 SP 只要完成它的存储，只要你确定完成的是它特定的 CID 这个整个存储，比如说我100T，我一旦存储完成，那么它有小部分的抵押就立马可以去取回去。但是呢，SC 那边的抵押呢，可能就是这个可以有待商榷，就是说，比如说我举个例子，比如说我要存1年，那么1年之后你的抵押全部回去，或者说考虑去线性的方式，这个大家可以讨论，我觉得，但是我们都会设计进去。
We can host a discussion later on how long the collateral should last and how much it is. We can discuss that in the future.
OK， 我们可以看下一页 ，next page。对，这个可能就是我们短时间可能就不适合深说这个，我简单介绍一下，就是说这是我们因为我们的代码基本上已经基本框架已经搭建的完成了，就是合约代码的主要部分。那这里最重要的设计就是一个custody 的设计，然后其次呢就是我们将 file 加的规则呢都放到一个合约之中去进行治理，由治理团队进行治理，这是支撑层的最重要的两个点。
不好意思，可能需要你再说一遍。
不好意思，我又说太快了，可能就是说，我们分为2个层嘛，一个就是支撑层，类似于基础设施，一个支撑层。支撑层呢，就是我们就只解释中间这2个。我现在是跟
So there are 2 layers. There's the support
最重要
layer.
第一个就是file 加的规则。
And we're going
对，
to
然后
talk about the middle 2 in the support layer.
OK， 然后就是我们比如 file 加的合约，我们会将 file 加的规则都写入。比如说现在我们讨论了很多，比如说我们限制最大的副本数啊，或者每个国家或者每个城市是怎么样分配副本数的，就这些规则我们都要写到这里面去，通过代码来去管理，而不是人工。
In the first part, the Fill Plus contract, we will migrate the Fill Plus contract to the code so that it's enforced by code, not by humans. For example, the number of replica that will be enforced by by code.
对。然后第二个就是 custody 我们设计了我们在我们的设计中呢，这个比较重要，这是只有这个东西才能在软件的维度比较好的去把上层的业务去解耦。那我们在设计 custody 我们就可以理解为是一个数据库。我们这里主要它的作用主要是维护那个 car 和它的副本的生命周期。
The car store here is the important thing that allows the rest of the architecture to work. A car store, you can kind of see it as a data store or database that helps with maintaining the replicas and the data sets.
Okay.
It maintains the cars. Is that what I wanted to say?
cars 还有那个副本，那副本要说，因为控制副本很重要，就是副本是需要管理的。对，对 ，yes。然后上一层呢，就主要是相当于一个领域层的一个，我们先不管这个，我们就相当于一个业务层的一个陈述啊，就是最左边第一个就是数据集的合约，就相当于主体的功能，它的最终的目的就是为了批准数据。
The dataset contract. 是上面的第一个对吧？
对，上面的第一个。
The dataset contract here is to challenge the dataset proof and verify the dataset.
它的最终的目标就是将数据局是否能批准，这最重要。这里就是我们公证人的，就是现在有公证人做了类似的事情。 对，就处理这部
This
分的业务
is
逻辑。
this is what the notaries do today, which is to approve data sets, approve or deny data sets.
然后就是中间的就是撮合环节，就是我到上面画了3个小人，就是 SC、SP、DP 之间相互的一些撮合，他们之间的需求的撮合。比如说我需要存储，我需要做数据准备怎么样的，就是我们支持3种方式，一个就是竞标、招标，还有我们支持一键成交，就是这3种方式。
In the matching contract, there are 3 different roles that we match. There is the storage client, the storage provider, and the data preparer. Depending on their needs, we can match among all of them, either or both, either roles. So there are 3 different ways we can match. There's the auction, or there is I'm not sure what tender means. 就是你说第2个是可以解释一下吗？
招标就是你可以就这样解释，就是说竞拍或者是招标，这是2种不同的交易方式。但是我们就可以解释竞拍或者说是一键成交，我们这样解释就好了。
So there are 2 main categories. One is auction, and the other one is one-click transaction.
OK， 好，最后就存储合约那里主要就是控制，主要就是我们讨论的所说的就是 DataCap 如何去控制它的分发，还有我们做实际的存储的报告，就向链上去报告我已经存了这么多东西，然后呢，包括 DataCap 的管理，我一次一次的分配，对，就是这个
The
意思。
last one is about control and monitoring. There's the seeing how DataCap is used and distributed, and seeing the data sets that have been stored.
OK， 然后 next。
In the interest of time, since we have about 2 minutes left, rather than going through this, did you want to make a summary or the best way for questions, just so you don't run out of time?
OK， 然后我们这里有简单一点点，就是我们的一个证明和挑战的一个算法的设计。然后我们就不在这里细讲这个东西。如果大家有兴趣了，点进去我们这里这个链接应该解释的非常清楚了，对于这个算法的原理。对，然后后面这个也不讲。
I won't dive into the details on these 2, but if you click the link, the algorithm should be explained very thoroughly.
对，好，那我们就是如果有更多的细节呢，我们希望大家可以到讨论这里讨论，就是我们在 Filecoin 这边有一个讨论的链接，我们希望大家就帮忙看一下，就是说整个的设计的合理性和算法的合理性，就是最主要的这2个点。要是如果大家帮忙看一下合理性，多帮忙提一些建议。谢谢。
We would love everyone to go onto the GitHub issue and discussions to provide your feedback on the algorithm.
好，谢谢。
Thank you.
我基本上就讲这些。谢谢你的翻译，谢谢。
不好意思，我这个也是没有，也是一边现学一边现翻译，翻译的非常不周，不好意思大家。
谢谢。
突然被拉进来的，谢谢。
Thank you so much for coming, Caro. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate that. I think some of the feedback that I saw in the call was like having more details. I think that I'll post this on YouTube. It's available, but you might get even more questions, much more detailed than this morning. I'm glad we had Caro here with you. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for having me. Sorry for the hiccups in translation. I'm also learning at the same time, so it's very hard to remember all those sentences. I'll do a better job next time if you need me again.
That's great. That was great. Well, as always, thank you so much, everyone. Next call is on September 19th. If you have anything for the topics, please let us know. And thank you again for everybody who came, asked questions. We appreciate having your time. Have a nice night. Have a nice day. Thanks, everyone.